Good morning. Good morning. Please be seated. Members of the class of 2019, family, friends, welcome to the 21st annual hooding ceremony of the University of Chicago Law School. Today is a day to celebrate the accomplishments of you, the class of 2019. You have accomplished a great deal. It was not long ago that you first came to the law school and had your first class. That class may have been your first class in graduate school and your first encounter with the Socratic method. You may remember approaching your first class with a sense of excitement, curiosity, maybe even a little anxiety. And in that class, or shortly thereafter, you encountered a reservoir that flooded a neighboring mine, a group of shipwrecked voyagers who resorted to cannibalism, and an automobile distributor that sought to avoid litigating in Oklahoma. Now, your encounters with these characters and many others were the focus of your close study and perhaps sources of confusion, maybe even frustration. But now, these characters prompt a nod of recognition, maybe even a touch of nostalgia. These cases have become old friends. For those of you earning your LLM or MLS today, you may have learned some of these same cases here at the law school or in your prior law school. But each of you had a first day here full of nerves and excitement. Your first class with us may have been your first in America, maybe even your first taught fully in English, and it may have been your first encounter with the Socratic method too. But however and wherever you began with us, all of you leave here today the same way, as our graduates, and we are proud to say, as products of the education at the University of Chicago Law School. Now, the fact that the Socratic method no longer makes you nervous, and the fact that these cases I mentioned are familiar to you, indicates how much you have learned and how you have grown in your time at the law school. You've learned a great deal of the law itself. You've learned a lot of legal doctrine. And between now and the bar exam, July 30th and 31st in most states, in case you need a reminder, you'll surely learn a lot more legal doctrine. But much of your learning at the law school wasn't about specific points of doctrine. Rather, you learned about how to think about legal problems, how to interpret legal texts, how to engage in common law reasoning, how to disentangle thorny legal problems, and how to find solutions that can benefit everyone. You've learned to approach legal questions with rigorous thought and careful reasoning, and to examine questions from multiple perspectives. This analytical approach requires an openness to ideas and a commitment to subject those ideas to scrutiny. This dedication to, and even joy in, serious analytical inquiry has long been the hallmark of the University of Chicago lawyer. Now, in a few moments, you'll receive your degree and your academic hood, and you will also become a University of Chicago lawyer. But to the extent to which you have already dedicated yourself to serious analytical inquiry in the law, and the fact that you are seated here today suggests you have, you've already been transformed into that University of Chicago lawyer. You're no longer the student who is apprehensive or confused about the shipwrecked voyagers, the flooding reservoir, or the site of the automobile distributor's litigation. You are a lawyer equipped to tackle and to think about the hardest questions. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened over many days and nights of study and discussion with your faculty and with your classmates. All the hours that you spent in the classroom and in the clinics in dialogue with the faculty, the hours spent in library carols and conference rooms, in the Green Lounge, in the journal offices, studying, outlining, writing, rewriting again, discussing, and ultimately thinking are what transformed you. It was hard work. You did it. Congratulations. Now, you didn't do it fully by yourselves. It's worth remembering two groups of people who helped you. First, nearly all of you had the support of family and friends. Sometimes family and friends helped you in very tangible ways. Maybe they sent you mittens when the weather got cold. Maybe they sent you cookies as the deadline for the brief approached. Maybe they paid your rent. They also helped you in intangible ways. They cheered you up when you thought you wouldn't ever finish law school because you were so frustrated by those shipwrecked voyagers, that flooding reservoir, or the location of the automobile distributor's litigation. And they gave you a rest when all the hard work of law school left you tired. And they were a patient listener when you were so excited by what you were learning in the law school, you couldn't stop talking about law. And so in these tangible and intangible ways, they help you get here. When they congratulate you this afternoon, don't forget to thank them. And it's also worth remembering a second group who helped you here today. They're sitting all around you, your classmates. At times, your classmates helped you in very direct ways. They worked with you side by side in the clinic, drafting a motion. Maybe they were your partner in the moot court competition. Maybe they proofread your paper. Maybe they gave you detailed feedback on your comment draft. At other times, they helped you in less direct ways. Maybe they gave an answer during a cold call that was so great, you took notes on it. They asked a question that was so insightful, you'd wished you'd thought of it. You may have noticed that our serious and analytical inquiry at the University of Chicago is not a solo enterprise. It's a collective endeavor. It's a form of joint production. We push one another, we ask hard questions. Your classmates helped you get here, and so too you have helped them get here. So now here you are, through your hard work, with the support of family and friends, through the help of your classmates, and through challenges from the faculty, you're about to graduate. You're about to have University of Chicago lawyer forever attached to your professional life. And although you leave us physically, your association with the law school is permanent. You have, just as every class does, left their mark on the law school, just as we have left our mark on you. It's what you wanted by enrolling here and what we wanted by admitting you. And in the years ahead, this mutual association will grow deeper and more meaningful. The faculty stands ready to do its part to make sure that the hallmark of the University of Chicago lawyer continues to be that dedication in and joy in serious analytical inquiry. So when the JD class of 2022 and the LM class of 2020 arrive in the fall, we will introduce them to the shipwrecked voyagers and the flooding reservoir and the auto distributor's minimum context, just as we did for you. Now, most of you must now do your part. Most people's impressions of the law school comes not from reading the work and the scholarship of the faculty. I wish it were so, but it's not. It comes from encountering one of our graduates and observing their professionalism and the quality of the work that they do. Now, as a graduate, you will help shape what it means to be a University of Chicago lawyer. Your careers may take many paths. Maybe it's a clerkship, maybe it's government service, maybe it's big law, small law. Maybe you will leave the practice of law altogether and go off on some new grand adventure. All of these paths are worthwhile, and all of them need your serious and analytical minds and your sound judgment. Whatever your path, it's unlikely your professional work will involve flooding reservoirs or shipwrecks, but your professional work is certain to involve important and thorny problems. The distinctive characteristics of the University of Chicago lawyer should serve you well in tackling them. Think hard, analyze these questions closely. Your education doesn't end when you walk out of this chapel or when you leave the bar exam on July 30th or 31st. Continue to collaborate with your colleagues, just as you did with your classmates. Keep in touch with your law school classmates. They are the lawyers who know you best. And please stay connected to the law school. Stay in touch with the faculty, who will be excited to hear about your accomplishments and your professional challenges. But today, we celebrate your accomplishment. We are proud of you. Now go out there in the world and make us proud again. Congratulations. Now, before we proceed, I want to take a moment and remember a member of the class of 2019 who is not with us today because he was taken from us too soon, Zachary Zent. Zach's time at the law school was short, too short, but Zach has made a lasting impact on the friends that he developed here and on our community as a whole. So it's appropriate for us to remember him and remember the enthusiasm and the energy that he brought to our community. So let's please pause for a moment and remember him. Thank you. It is now my great honor to introduce this year's distinguished alumna, Katherine Adams, member of the class of 1990. Kate Adams is the General Counsel and Senior Vice President of Legal and Global Security for Apple Incorporated. Now, Apple perhaps needs no explanation or introduction to you. Many of you probably have its products on your person at this very moment. This is a reminder to please shut your buzzers off. Apple is a global company with about $266 billion in revenues, 132,000 employees, and a market capitalization of about $1 trillion. As Apple's general counsel, Ms. Adams oversees all of their legal matters, including corporate governance, intellectual property, litigation, and securities compliance. Now, before taking up these responsibilities at Apple, Ms. Adams led a remarkable career. She graduated from Brown University and then matriculated at the law school. Like many of you, she had elements of the law from Professor David Strauss. And there's a rumor, which I cannot confirm, that she may have participated in the law school musical. Upon graduating from the law school, Ms. Adams clerked for Stephen Breyer, who was then the chief judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. And then following that, she clerked for Justice Sandra Day O'Connor at the U.S. Supreme Court. She practiced environmental law, first in the Environment and Natural Resources Division of the U.S. Department of Justice, and then at the firm of Sidley Austin. At Sidley, she represented a diverse portfolio of clients in multiple industries and rose to become a partner in the firm. Ms. Adams then joined Honeywell, the international conglomerate, and she became its general counsel, leading its global legal strategy across more than 100 companies. And in that capacity, she was responsible for all of their legal affairs, government relations, and global security organizations. In 2017, she joined Apple as its general counsel. Throughout her career, Ms. Adams has given tremendous service to the profession. She is a member of the Leadership Council on Legal Diversity. At Honeywell, she co-led the Women's Council, and she's taught environmental law at several law schools. In sum, Ms. Adams has led a tremendous career that combined law, business, and service in positions of extraordinary leadership in large organizations. I'm delighted to welcome her back to the law school. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished alumna of 2019, Kate Adams.
I'm not sure I recognize that person, but it is an enormous pleasure to be here today. And Dean Miles, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And thank you as well to the faculty and the administrators here today. I and every one of the graduates owe you a huge debt of gratitude for all that you have done for us and for this wonderful law school. And class of 2019, congratulations, you have done it. Over the past 3 years, you've read hundreds of cases over what must have seemed like millions of hours. You've experienced the terror and the thrill of the Socratic cold call in class. And you've come out the other side, even more impressive, more confident, and more sleep-deprived than you probably ever could have imagined. So let today be a day for celebration. And while you're celebrating, so are the people who help make this moment possible. The friends who studied with you, the family members who picked up the late night, I don't know if I can do this phone call, and reassured you, yes, you can do this. The professors who guided you, who explained the rule against perpetuities, and explained it again, and explained it again. They're a big part of why you're here today. Keep in touch with them, because those professors could be a big part of whatever you do next. They certainly were in my case. When I was at this law school, 3 professors, Jeff Stone, Larry Kramer, and the late Paul Bator, helped me secure the clerkship with a man who was then the Chief Judge of the First Circuit, a clerkship that defined the whole arc of my career. It turned out that this judge had a huge impact, not just on me, but on our country, Stephen Breyer. I also want to thank two other very important people, my parents. They were not actually able to attend my UChicago graduation, so it means a lot that they are here today, sitting in the audience with you, along with my husband of 26 years, Duke Weiser, also in the audience. So in some sense, I feel like I'm graduating with all of you, so I'm a little emotional. My parents showed me at an early age what it meant to fight for something bigger than myself. When I was 8, my parents founded the Natural Resources Defense Council, or the NRDC, and I watched as they grew it from 4 volunteers in our tiny living room in Greenwich Village to one of the most impactful environmental organizations in the world. When I sat where you are now sitting, I could never have predicted how profoundly my career would be, and still is, influenced by the example they set and the sacrifices they made. You too have made many sacrifices to get here today. The University of Chicago has developed some of the most brilliant legal minds of the past and the present and the future. Lawyers who have achieved great success in many ways and who have shown the law can have a profound impact on the world. You are part of that community now, and you've earned your place in it, and no one handed it to you. But you've also earned yourself an exciting and complicated challenge. What are you going to do with this degree, with the amazing education you've been privileged to receive here? Your degree only means something if you use it to do something, to help those around you, to fight injustice, to heal our planet. So, how do you do that? How do you build a career at the intersection of what you love to do and what the world needs? That's what I'd like to talk to you about today. The paths laid out in front of you are numerous and familiar and unfamiliar. You've been working toward them ever since you set foot on this campus. But whatever path you choose, whether you work at a law firm, a nonprofit, in government, academia, or in some other worthy place, I urge you to make sure that every step you take outside these gates is an intentional one. This is the first of 2 things I want to share with you today. Always move forward, but always make sure you're moving in the right direction for the right reasons. Now, the right direction isn't always apparent. If it was, no one would ever make a misstep, take a wrong turn, or feel confused about where they were. But that's all part of the journey. Wherever you go, make sure it's not because it's expected of you, but because it holds meaning for you and meaning beyond you, that it contributes to something larger and makes our world a better place. I say this because it's hard to do. It's hard to be intentional about each step you take. It's hard to advance through your career deliberately. It's hard, but it's worth it. My own career has not been a straight line. After clerking for then Chief Judge Breyer, I worked at the Department of Justice, and then had the totally unexpected opportunity of a lifetime to clerk for Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. From her, I learned that I could work harder, so much harder, than I ever thought possible. She showed me that commitment is only a virtue, however, when it is balanced with compassion. Compassion for the people you work alongside, and compassion for the people your work will impact. She brought a deep sense of responsibility and was always aware of the profound consequences of her decision-making and what that decision-making had on the world. And she supported me as a young woman in the law in a way that I can never fully repay. Every day, I try to do the same for others, to build teams, to lend them support, to inspire them to make a difference. The law, as you know, is inherently adversarial. Lawyers thrive on competition. But I'll tell you this, you're going to accomplish so much more when you work as a team, when you bring people together for a common purpose. Like many of you will do, the first team I joined after the clerkship was a law firm, and the work was thrilling. I felt I was growing and learning. I had a chance to work on high-profile cases for high-powered clients. I had the chance to help shape the firm's culture, to push our teams to become more diverse, more inclusive, more supportive. And after 4 years at the firm, doing work that I loved, supporting and being supported by my colleagues, I was fortunate enough to become a partner. And at that moment, I thought, this is it. I've arrived. This is what I've worked for. This is where I was meant to be. And it was, until it wasn't. Sometimes what was once the right direction isn't any longer, because life isn't static. We change, and we learn, and we evolve. Reorienting yourself is rarely easy, and it doesn't happen in a single moment. It's a lifelong process. For me, realizing this was uncomfortable, because if my job at the firm was no longer what I wanted, I wasn't sure what was. Then I had an opportunity for a very different kind of job. Honeywell, a multinational industrial company, was looking for a new head of litigation. It was not a cushy job. The company was in dire straits. The position was described as, quote, running into a burning building, which, by the way, is usually the exact opposite of what you want to be doing. So not surprisingly, my colleagues at the law firm thought I was insane to consider this. Having worked so hard to make partner, why on earth would I leave? And leave for this? But something about it just felt right. I wanted to do something new, something difficult, to take a job where I might fail. I wanted to see if I could do my best work in that challenging environment, to see whether I could make a difference. It certainly wasn't part of my original plan, but suddenly it seemed like it ought to be. And this is the second thing I want to share with you today. I began by asking you to be intentional, but I'm also asking you to do the exact opposite, to open yourself up to serendipity, to the surprising, even crazy opportunities that life presents you. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but it really is possible to do both. You've got to be intentional about what matters to you most, your goals, your values. For me, that meant feeling like I was doing my best work, contributing to something larger than myself, creating something that would last, and leaving the world a better place than I found it. These were my prerequisites. But over time, I became more open to how and where I would achieve them. When I joined Honeywell, the company's record on the environment was so bad that politicians returned its campaign contributions. Of all the things in my career, one of the things I'm most proud of are the profound changes we made to the company's culture and its legacy. And Honeywell is now widely recognized as an environmental leader. And by taking a chance, I got to play a role in that. Serendipity then led me to another opportunity, really the opportunity of a lifetime, and that's the job I have now as General Counsel and Senior Vice President of Apple. Apple, for me, seems like the place my path was leading all along. It's the place where the threads of my career have drawn together. Graduates, you're entering a world that is more complex than it's ever been. But I believe the problems we all face are solvable. But they're only solvable if we commit to solving them. That's hard work, it's necessary work, and there is no one more qualified to tackle it than you. You have all the tools at your disposal and the power of the law on your side. Apple has shown the world that a company can be a force for good. Apple has done that in the products we create, the way we make them, and the people whose lives they touch. We're not afraid to use the law for good, to call for tougher regulations, to protect our customers' data and privacy, to stand up to governments when we believe fundamental human rights are at stake, and to fight to change the laws when we believe they are unjust. We're using the law to create a legacy we can be proud of. We're showing the world that true success means leaving the world better than you found it. It means running on entirely renewable energy, closing the loop on materials resource, pioneering new research for the greatest health challenges we face, and it means standing up for groups that are facing discrimination, and to always being open to everyone in your workplace and using every tool we have, including the law, to fight for good in our world. I would have never had the opportunity to do this had I not strived to balance serendipity and intentionality, if I hadn't been willing to drive forward with purpose while also being willing to deviate from the path. So that's the charge I'd like to leave you with. Stay agile and stay open. Life will offer you some unexpected opportunities. Take them seriously. Consider whether they will allow you to grow and allow you to give. Ask yourself always, is this how I can best help the world? Even if you don't know the answer, keep asking. You have the power to shape the future, the power to change the world for the better. The law is one of the most powerful forces in our society. Marshal it for good. The world needs you to make a difference, to protect the planet and the people on it. I can't wait to see what you will do and how you will use that power to make the world a better place. Thank you for having me, and congratulations.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our faculty speaker. The University of Chicago is known for its distinctive approach to intellectual inquiry. From its very founding, the law school's been an interdisciplinary place. We draw on the tools of other disciplines, history, political science, philosophy, economics, to better understand law and legal institutions. We're also intellectually ambitious. We focus on the most important social questions, the biggest challenges facing society. And we don't lose sight of the fact that we're law school. The law matters. We strive to understand the law better. And then lastly, teaching is vitally important to us. Teaching that's participatory and engaging, that challenges our students to also think about the biggest, hardest, most complex questions. Today's faculty speaker embodies all of these distinctive features of the University of Chicago. Professor David Weisbach is the Walter J. Blum Professor of Law. Professor Weisbach received his undergraduate degree in mathematics from the University of Michigan, and then he received a master's in advanced study in mathematics from Wilson College, Cambridge, and then his JD from Harvard Law School. He was a law clerk for Judge Joel Flom on the Seventh Circuit. He practiced tax law in Washington and served in the Office of Tax Policy in the U.S. Treasury Department. At the law school, Professor Weisbach's scholarship focuses on issues of federal taxation and issues of climate change. He explores the economic and social implications of policy changes on both topics. His approach to these questions is interdisciplinary. As a former director of our Law and Economics program, he regularly uses economics to analyze tax law and policy. He has also co-authored with philosophers to understand the ethics of global climate change. And Professor Weisbach addresses the biggest challenges of our time. He's part of an interdisciplinary group looking at the impact of climate change, and in his teaching, he's co-taught courses on global inequality and one course that's simply called Big Problems. Professor Weisbach regularly teaches our corporate law tax sequence, and here his commitment to the law itself and to imparting understanding of the law through great teaching is evident. Students in their teaching evaluations had this to say about Professor Weisbach's corporate tax sequence. One wrote, Professor Weisbach's in-depth knowledge of the tax code, his real-world examples, and his sheer command of the material is very impressive. Another wrote, Professor Weisbach is a great teacher and made a very complicated subject manageable. And then there's this one, which I think I hesitated to read because it will perhaps aggravate all of our other faculty members. Several students wrote, this is the best class by far I've taken in the law school. Please join me in welcoming Professor David Weisbach.
Thank you, Dean Miles. You left off the most important thing I did while I was at law school, which is when I was a head of the law and economics program, a young PhD and JD applied to be a fellow at the law school. His name was Tom Miles, and I was the person who brought now Dean Miles to the law school. So you failed to mention my most important achievement. I'm ready to retire now, right? I'm honored to be here today. Thank you very much. To offer congratulations on behalf of the faculty of the University of Chicago Law School. Welcome to the profession. And welcome also to the family and friends who are here today who've helped make this day possible. Graduation speeches are supposed to be non-political, yet inspirational, summarizing a life lesson in 7 minutes. I wrote one focusing on the career choices you'll face over the next 30 or 40 years. It was non-political and attempted to be inspirational. And I woke up this morning and I couldn't do it. As important as career choices are, it isn't what's most important today, and it's not what I want to talk about. Instead, this morning, I scribbled some notes about what I really want to say, and it's not non-political and not going to be inoffensive to everybody, and I apologize in advance. I can see Dean Miles shifting nervously in his seat. There's no off switch on the microphone. This is what I want to say. Class of 2019, the world needs you. It needs great lawyers like never before. I'm 55 years old. I've lived through the Cold War, the Civil Rights Movement, Watergate, the Bork and Thomas confirmation hearings, Bush versus Gore, 9/11, the Great Recession. I've never felt as scared as I do now. Maybe it's an illusion that the current moment always feels worse than the past because we know we made it through the past and yet the future is unknown. But I don't think it is. Today feels different. I wake up every day a little bit terrified. Like no time in my life, the world needs people like you. I've never been more proud to be a law professor than today because my job is to create the young lawyers, you, that the world needs. Why? Why does the world need you? You'll have your own list, and mine is surely incomplete, and you'll surely disagree with some of this. If you didn't disagree, I wouldn't be doing it right. My biggest concern, what keeps me up at night, is democracy itself. I've never thought before that the basic structure of our democracy is under threat, but I do now. Here are some examples. A core principle of representative democracy is that people can elect representatives of their own choosing. We've often failed to live up to that. We've disenfranchised vast swaths of our population. But it feels now like we're at risk of barely giving democracy lip service. Gerrymandering has reached extreme levels, and some politicians defend it by saying openly and without shame that their goal is to disenfranchise people of the opposing party. Taking away people's votes because of their beliefs is utterly contrary to our basic principles. Elected officials attack core institutions of our democracy, such as elections, the lengths of time that they will serve in office, the power of their successors, and the basic functionings and competencies of important agencies. Foreign adversaries are doing so as well. Democracy requires faith in the process, in outcomes of elections, and in the fair administration of justice. It requires a functioning government that can perform its duties regardless of what duties you think it should be performing. Democracy also requires a robust press and a belief in a common set of facts. When people feel free to deny that they have events that have unquestionably happened, democracy is at risk. And in our particular democratic structure, checks and balances between the branches is a core principle. It is also at risk. I could go on. And these risks and others are not just additive, they multiply, each one making the others worse. I hope our institutions are strong. They will need to be. They're under tremendous pressure. Democracy is not a given. It won't last unless it's defended, and lawyers are the key to defending it. Class of 2019, democracy needs you. The second thing that keeps me up at night is climate change. I work in climate change in my scholarship, so I think about it all the time. It's hard to think about climate change all the time without becoming kind of crazy, focusing on day in and day out on looming doom. It might not turn out so bad, but at its worst, it's an existential threat. It's not so easy to stop the threat because doing so requires transforming our economy, requires the cooperation of all the nations in the world. But I don't understand why. I can't understand why. We aren't doing everything we can, even if it will be hard. The data are clear. There's little time to act if we are to avoid the worst harms. And the issue has become depressingly political, an issue where you signal your political tribe by denying the laws of physics, notwithstanding the consequences to your kids and grandkids. Climate change is less lawyer-focused than democracy is. To stop climate change, we need new technologies and better scientific understanding. Solving climate change involves stuff, pipes and wires and batteries and structures. But it also requires lawyers. We need laws, treaties, international cooperation, IP protection for new technologies, taxes, regulations, and incentives, all the domain of lawyers. Class of 2019, the earth needs you. The final thing that keeps me up at night is how we treat one another. Partly the domain of things we call discrimination law, but also including policing, education, migration, and overall civility towards one another and to groups. I get a little teary here. I have a transgender son, a gay son also. I've learned a huge amount from him since he came out a few years ago. I wake up happy every day. He lives in today's world. He's happily married, and he lives in a loving and supporting community, something he could not have done just a decade ago. But now, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, terrified, in a cold sweat, worrying about him. What if he travels to the wrong place or meets someone who hates who he is? What if our laws change? Progress that I thought we had made no longer seems permanent. The same worries extend to people of many different characteristics. I have a cycling friend who lived in Ferguson, Missouri, long before the recent events. He describes being stopped by the police as he was driving the speed limit. Why, he was told. Was he driving the speed limit unless he was hiding something? Many of you know these issues far better than I do. Many of you live them every day. And lawyers are central to these issues. Class of 2019, people need you. My list isn't complete, and my list reflects my perspective on events. You may have a different top three and may disagree with my views, but regardless of the details, my message stands. The world needs you. It needs great lawyers like it has never before. How can you meet these demands? Some of you may have a cause that you want to devote your life to, but most of you probably don't. I did not when I graduated. Aren't you allowed to just be a lawyer or whatever you want to be and pursue happiness and success like everyone else? You are. Yes, you are. Let me turn briefly back to what I was originally going to talk about. I was going to feature 3 graduates of the class of 1989 because I graduated in 1989 from law school, and because 1989 is a nice round 30 years ago. They were Lori Lightfoot, the first black woman mayor of Chicago, the first openly gay mayor of Chicago, and the first outside mayor of Chicago in 100 years. We are proud that she is our graduate. She's an incredible role model. Sheila Nix. Nix worked on numerous presidential campaigns as chief of staff to Senators John Kerry and to Senator Nelson. She worked in Springfield as deputy governor of Illinois, and she worked at senior levels for nonprofits, including working with Bono on poverty in Africa and working on voting rights in the US. And finally, Sharon Zezima, a Bay Area tech lawyer who as general counsel took a number of companies public and who founded a group designed to help accomplished women connect with one another. I didn't know any of these remarkable women personally, but reading the biographies, I did not get the sense that they graduated law school with a cause. They all started in big law. 2 were partners. But over the course of 30 years since they graduated, they all found ways to contribute. They became great lawyers and took advantage of the opportunities that were open to them because they were great. Each has used her skills to make the world a better place. Class of 2019, follow their paths. The world needs you. Congratulations on your achievements. It's time to commence.
Thank you, Professor Weisbach. It is now time to proceed to the distribution of degrees and the hooding of the graduates. Please hold your applause until we finish each group of degrees.
yet. Dean Miles, it is my honor to present these students who have completed the program of studies prescribed by the faculty of the law school. They have been awarded the degree of Master of Laws by the Board of Trustees.
I congratulate these graduates on the successful completion of a program of advanced study in the law school, culminating in the degree Master of Laws.
Will the graduates please come forward to receive your diploma and then your academic hood as I call your name? Yuki Ajika. Joki Akinoa. Sharali Bayar. Paulo Benmar Gutierrez. Andrea de Carmen Recama Cati. Yuming Chen. Cha Chusap. Andrew Peter Colgan. Jaime Coots Silva. Juan Carlos Daquer Suarez. Leja Daldara. Marie de Rook. Hannah Delbara. Leandro Felix. Magdali Gulaku. Makiko Herada. Takumi Hasegawa. Rafael Costa. Diru Ha. Masaki Hiruta. Stephanie Hung. Sung Yun Kong. Hasmi Kachaden. Greta Gerner. Toshun Kun. Karen Lad Rakmanishi. Mingyung Lai. Parish Bihadi Lal. Mika Lalvreshun. Taeyun Lee. Wanchan Lee. Dortia Limon. Ishao Lee. Carmela Spandoni Mafus. Mark Mancini. Iyuni Misawa. Lodovic Mays. Thomas Mason Guerrera. Martin Michaus. Carmela Misasi Dreizio. Toshiaki Mizunuma, Anish Aluk Mihonti, Eduarda Nascimento Tavares, Natalia Nidmon Alvarez, Supakan Nimanta Thredrum, Maria Newer, Isidora Para, Jose Paulo Pimentel Duvash, Sorab Rath, Brecht Roos, Giancarlo Randa, Andreas Reif, David Rivera Castro, William Hayu Kovalkenchi Sa, Jorge Leos Rojas Garcia, Tobias Stupli, Mariko Turada, Ahmed Turzek, Kasper Tunisen, Thomas Tees, Enrico Lapis Tinus, Miguel Torres Caro, Igor Densuza Toschis, Sinying Tai, Hozulu Tuchis, Muri Umbach, Daniela Urkisha, Evelyn van Espen, Jose Marcos Peña, Luis Felipe Frodi Vasquimares, Thomas Verheeden is being hooded by his mother, Cecilia Kay. Mayurna Marcelli, Muriel Waxman, Lianyi Wang, Xian Wang, Wenwei Wang, Hui Wu, Fenchi Shu, Shikun Su, Daphne Yovanov, Congratulations to the LLM class of 2019.
Dean Miles, it is my honor to present these students who have fulfilled all of the requirements prescribed by the faculty of the law school to qualify them for the profession of law. They have been awarded the degree of Doctor of Law by the Board of Trustees.
I congratulate these graduates on the successful completion of a program of study in the law school, culminating in the degree Doctor of Law.
Will the graduates please come forward to receive your diploma and then your academic hood as I call your name? Courtney Elizabeth Albini. Sari Adar Amiel. Andrea Ray Andrada. Devin Marissa Andrews. Darius Kareem Atkins. Evan J. Austin. Ethan Coster Back. Marcella Barba. Whitney Barth. Marcus Stribling Bauer. Joseph Michael Bayerl. Kendall R. Bennett. Kyle Bassett. Amardeep S. Bahati. Courtney Samantha Block. Brian Rivas Bosnecker. Catherine Ray Booth. Julia Taylor Bradley. Catherine Eleanor Bruce. Gregory Edward Buchek. Kendall Layton Burns. Ernest E. Butner IV. John David Butterfield. Wanda Cadet. Kevin Thomas Carlson. Cody Lee Carroll. Jane M. Chapman. Brandon Carr Yen Chung. Nicole M. Chimienti. Mihai F. Chidulescu. Audrey Youngju Cho. Eunice Jean Cho. Eleni Evelyn Christou. Carrie Samantha Coble. Megan Sarah Coggeshall. Benjamin Eli Cohen. Michael J. Conway. All right. A little back up here. Elizabeth Jean McGregor Cooper. Elizabeth will be hooded by her brother, Philip Cooper, Law School Class of 2017. Leonard E. Cortelli III. Brian J. Crush II. Elizabeth C. Davies. Jasmine Kayla Della Luna. Michaela Satomi Dion. Andrew J. Durand. Jonathan Abraham Dusick. Blake J. Eaton. Amir El-Sayed El-Azwad. Parker Clayton Udi. Abdul Yakin A. Fasin Rao. Samuel Jean Fuller. Mariah Esperanza Garcia. Tomas Martin Garcia. Leah Marie Garner. Olga Gedalovets. Travis Mitchell Glock. Peter J. Getchul. Lucia Goyne. Jordan Graham Golds. Brianna Teresa Gonsalves. Susanna Lee Griffey. Jason N. Grover. Shreya Gupta. Madeline Elise Hall. Benjamin R. Harris. Laurel Ann Haddix. Graham Benjamin Haviland. Elizabeth Haynes. Stephen H. Hazel. Ryan Christopher Hedrick. Jenny L. Hirsch. Alyssa M. Howard. Ryan Tavel Hudson. Christopher M. Hurley. Jamal G. Hippolyte. Taylor Alexander Imperiale. Jing Jin. Laura Ashley Jennings. No. Lauren. Sorry. Jing Jin. Cameron Michael Jost. Justina Veronica Joswick. Emmeline S. Jurgena. Micah K. M. Kamoy. Myungkoo Kang. Chelsea Elizabeth Kendall. Kevin Joseph Kennedy. Carl Stewart Kingma. Sarah Jessica Kenter. Sarah Masako Kirk. Benjamin Stanley Kloss. Katerina Anastasia Kokas. Kevin T. Croyer. Rachel Marie Kubisak. Gabriel James Lazarus. Jamie J. Lee. Catherine Park Lee. Kristen Levin. Mitchell Sidney Levy. Mitchell will be hooded by his father, William Levy, law school class of 1988. Siching Lee. Victor Isaac Lin. Ethan Paul Lindauer. Jamie Byrne Liguri. Nicholas Z. Lytle. Xingping Ma. Erica Mail. David H. Marnberg. Erica Nicole Marasich. Jonathan Kerrigan McCutcheon. Brittany Nicole McKinley. Stephen Fuller Michael. Angela Randy Mulvig. Angelina Nicole Moore. John Whitney McVeigh Morley. Chelsea Munoz Patchen. Robert Peter Mudalinen. Pooja Olivia Narayan. Elizabeth Mariko Nielsen. Elizabeth will be hooded by her father, Howard C. Nielsen, Jr., law school class of 1997. Joseph Allen Nunn. Mary Sinead O'Brien. Timothy William Oedzer. Valentina Marie Oliver. Oluwafumalayo Ashanubi. Ngozi Crystal Osuji. Lucas Scott Oxenford. Demetrius S. Papanconstantino. Jason Allen Parsons. Alicia V. Patel. Walter George Pelton. Erasmo A. Perez. Eric Edward Petrie. Braxton Scott Pitts. Danielle M. Pocock. Alexander Armando Porro. Austin John Porter. Jonathan M. Ragsdale. Winston Lewis Randolph. Marusa Rechetnikova. Angel Edalberto Reyes. Zachary T. Reynolds. Anthony James Ritchie. Taylor Malia Richards. Jillian Marianth Rogowski. Alexander J. Romano. Jeremy Doron Rosansky. Kimberly A. Rubin. Sarah Elizabeth Ryan. Caroline Louise Sabatier. Andrew A. Sabintsev. Christopher M. Salvatore. Max Andrew Samuels. David James Sandifer. Jennifer Rachel Saperstein. Anthony Robert Sarna. Joseph Gabriel Schaffel. Sarah Christine Schenker. Benjamin H. Siegel. Laura Julia Shapiro. Elizabeth Wren Sharkey. Nama Shamesh. Shane Rogers Sims. Mariah Lynn Slocum. Theo Smith. Andrew J. Spadafora. Stephen Spector. Rahul Srinivas. Elizabeth Ann Strickarts. Emily E. Sullivan. Hungru Sun. Tara Young Tyson. Derek Anthony Tisler. Stephen John Samasulo. Kyle N. Trevitt. Kimon K. Triantafilu. Peter Andrew Trombley. Richard Stephen Tsai. Aaron Michael Tusek. Grace Yingare. Nicholas Vera. Megan Renee Volin. Andrew Caleb Wax. Christopher Matthew Walling. Christopher will be hooded by his wife, Elizabeth Cooper, law school class of 2019. Andre J. Washington. Kimberly Dawn Waters. Sarah Elizabeth Welch. Eric Harris Wesson. Michael Kevin Wheat. Jonathan Thomas Whitcomb. Simon Albert Wiener. Vivian Celeste Jiayun Williams. Christian Nathaniel Wise. Brent Easton Yarnell. Kelly Hope Yin. Surur Fatima Yonce. Michael Adam Zarian. Junchi John. Congratulations to the JD class of 2019.
Now, this concludes our 21st annual diploma and hooding ceremony. And as a set of final instructions, your final exam, please remain in your seats for the recessional of our faculty and guests, followed by the graduates. And we will process out, and then please join us at the law school for a reception. And I have one request, which is that please do not linger in front of the chapel because another unit of the university will be coming in for their ceremony. So join me once more in congratulating the class of 2019.